You didn't grow up poor. That's important. Poor is a word other people use later when they're trying to explain you to someone. Growing up, you just thought this was how it was. The math your parents did at the grocery store, the conversations that stopped when you walked into the room, the way your dad looked at the car whenever it made a new sound. You didn't have a word for it. You just knew that money was a presence in your house the way weather is a presence. You couldn't see it, but you could feel it in every room. And some days it was fine, and some days it wasn't. And you learned early to read which kind of day it was before you asked for anything. You got good at not asking. You're 12 years old and you're doing math that 12-year-olds shouldn't have to do. Not algebra, not geometry. The other kind, the kind where you calculate whether this is a month you mention the school trip or whether you already know the answer. You learn that $47 is a lot. You learn that the difference between $47 and $52 is a conversation your parents will have in the kitchen after they think you're asleep. You learn the specific silence of two people who love each other and are very, very tired of the same problem. You decide something, lying in your bed, listening to that silence. You don't say it out loud. You barely think it in words, but you decide it. This is not going to be your life. You're 17. Your guidance counselor tells you that you're smart and that you should think about college. And you nod, and you go home and open a laptop and look up how much college costs, and you close the laptop. You open it again. You spend the next 4 months applying for every scholarship that exists. You win 2 of them. You go anyway. Nobody in your family has done this before. Your mom cries when you leave. Your dad shakes your hand, a real handshake, the kind that means something, and says, "Be good." You hug your little sister and she smells like home, and you get in the car and you don't look back because if you look back, you won't go. You go. College is the first place you realize you've been fluent in a language nobody taught you. You know how to stretch $11 across 3 days. You know which dining hall closes last. You know the specific calculation of whether it's worth taking the bus or whether 40 minutes of walking saves enough to matter. You know how to look fine when you're not fine because you grew up in a house that was very good at looking fine. What you don't know yet is that this fluency, this particular literacy, is going to become one of the most valuable things you own. You don't know it yet. You're just trying to get through the semester. You graduate. You get a job. First real paycheck, $2,940 after taxes. You stare at it for a long time. It's more money than you've ever had in one place in your life. Your first instinct is to send some home. Your second instinct, the one you act on, is to open a savings account and move $600 into it before you do anything else. You read once that you should pay yourself first. You don't fully understand it yet. You do it anyway. You send $200 home. You don't tell anyone about the savings account. There is nobody in your life yet who would understand why you did that in that order, and you don't have the language to explain it yet, so you just don't explain it. You're 24. You have $8,200 in an index fund that you try not to look at too often because looking at it makes you want to touch it. You live with a roommate. You drive a car that is paid for and runs. You bring lunch to work. Your cousin posts photos on Instagram of a vacation to Cancun. 6 people from your hometown went. You were invited. You said you were busy. You were not busy. You're 26. Something happens at work that you weren't expecting. A promotion you'd been building toward for 2 years finally lands. The raise is $14,000. You do not celebrate. You do not upgrade anything. You open your brokerage account and you increase your automatic contribution and you sit with the discomfort of wanting to feel the money and not letting yourself. That discomfort is the whole thing. That's the entire secret if there is one. Not intelligence, not luck, not a specific stock pick or a perfect budget spreadsheet, just the repeated practice of sitting with the discomfort of having more and choosing not to show it. You've been in training for this your whole life. The kitchen table trained you for this. You're 28. Your net worth crosses $100,000. You don't celebrate that either. You check the number on a Tuesday, in your car, in a parking lot, before going into the grocery store. You look at it for about 30 seconds. Then you go buy groceries. You buy the good pasta. That's the whole celebration. Your dad calls that month. He needs $1,800. The car. You send it the same day. You don't make a thing of it. He thanks you the way men who aren't used to being helped thank you, quickly, with a lot of weight behind it that neither of you acknowledges. You hang up the phone and you sit with something complicated. Pride isn't the right word. Relief isn't quite right either. It's something that doesn't have a clean name. The feeling of being able to do the thing your family needed someone to be able to do, and knowing it cost you something to get here, and knowing it was worth it, and not being sure anyone will ever fully understand the distance between those 2 points. You don't need them to understand. You just needed to be able to send it. You're 30. You go home for Thanksgiving. The table is the same table. The kitchen smells the same way. Your little sister is taller and funnier and has strong opinions about things now. Your mom made too much food the way she always does. And you sit there in the house you grew up in, and you feel two things at the same time that don't fit together neatly. You feel completely at home, and you feel like a stranger. Not because anything has changed between you, because something has changed in you that nobody here has a map for. Your uncle asks you what stocks to buy. He's heard you're good with money. You smile and say you just put it in index funds. Keep it boring, don't touch it. He nods like you've said something in a foreign language and changes the subject. You don't push it. You used to push it. You've learned. You're 32. Your net worth is $280,000. You have a Roth IRA maxed every year for the past 6 years. You have a taxable brokerage account. You have an emergency fund that could cover 8 months. You have no credit card debt. You have a car that's paid for. You look like everyone else. That's intentional. You've watched what happens when people know. The asking starts. Not malicious, just human. Someone needs help with a deposit. Someone wants to start a business and just needs a little. Someone has a plan and it only needs one thing. You help when you can, the way you can, quietly. You help your parents. You help your sister with her tuition gap. You help once with a cousin's situation that you don't ask too many questions about. And then you close the account app and you go back to looking like everyone else. Because the moment people know the number, they stop seeing you and start seeing the number. You learned that at 29 and you haven't forgotten it. You're 35. You buy a small duplex. You live in one unit, rent the other. The rent covers the mortgage. You own a piece of real estate that is paying for itself while you sleep. You remember being 12 years old and doing the math on whether this was a month you asked for something. You remember the specific feeling of that calculation, the smallness of it, the precision of it, the way it made you feel simultaneously very grown up and very small. You think about that kid sometimes, the one doing math in his head in the cereal aisle. You think, I'm sorry it took so long. You think, thank you for not giving up. You're 38. Your net worth is $670,000. Your cousin, the Cancun one, is going through a divorce. He calls you, late, not about money, just to talk. You talk for 2 hours. You don't mention the money. He doesn't ask. You realize, hanging up, that the wealth was never the point. The wealth was the tool. The point was always this: to be the person in your family who doesn't have to make the bad decision because the money ran out. To be the buffer. To be the one who can answer the phone and say yes, I can help, without it costing you the next 3 months. That's what first-generation wealth actually means. Not the number, not the portfolio, not the duplex or the Roth IRA or the index funds that quietly compound in the background. It means the phone call at 11 p.m. doesn't have to be a crisis anymore. You're 40. On a Tuesday morning in March, sitting at the same small wooden desk you've had for 9 years, you open your brokerage account and your retirement account and your real estate equity tracker, and you add them up. $1 million. You don't scream, you don't call anyone. You sit there for a moment and you let it be real. Then you close the laptop and you make a cup of coffee and you stand at the window for a while, looking at nothing in particular. You think about your dad's handshake the day you left for college, the weight in it, everything he didn't know how to say. You think about the kitchen table, the bills, the silence after 10 p.m. You think about every Cancun trip you didn't take, every upgrade you deferred, every $600 you moved before you let yourself spend anything, every month you sat with the discomfort of having more and choosing to build instead of perform. You think, nobody in my family has ever been here before. You think somebody had to go first. You're glad it was you. Here's what nobody tells you about being the first. It's not a financial achievement. It's a translation project. Your whole life, you've been translating between the world you came from and the world you were building toward, between the kitchen table and the brokerage account, between the person your family knows and the person the number says you are. The hardest part was never the money. The money followed the decisions, and the decisions followed the discipline, and the discipline followed the quiet decision you made at 12 years old, lying in your bed, listening to your parents be tired. The hardest part was learning to belong to both worlds. To never let the money make you a stranger at the table you grew up at. To never let the table make you ashamed of the account you built. To hold both of them, all the way to 40, all the way to the number, all the way to the Tuesday morning in March when you sat at your desk and you let it be real. The first one is always the hardest. The first one always carries everyone who comes after. Be the first.